This conference will now be recorded.
Hello students, now we are learning about plant kingdom, third chapter. So in this chapter you are learning about the features, salient features of classification of plants into main groups like algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms. So here while learning you have to write about the three main features, 3 to 5 features we need to. That's why here I mentioned, like while writing for board exam, main preparing for board exam, 3 to 5 main features you need to note down. That means that should be the distinguishing features, and at least for everything with 2 examples, and some exceptional cases are there in that, means that also you need to do note down some special features or anything else, that means that you should write. Okay, and while preparing for neat exam, you know that each and every point is important, right? So from each one, algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. From about all these classifications, you need to learn thoroughly with examples. Clear? So let's start now. We are going to learn about angiosperms. We know that angiosperms, angion means, means vessel, and sperma means seed. Okay, so angiosperm are the plants in which the seeds are formed inside the fruit, right? So in angiosperms you can, angiosperms, there you can see that in this type of plants seeds are formed inside fruit, where seeds are formed inside fruit, right? So you know many plants, right? All the vegetable, the plants which are used as or the means fruits, everything you can see the seed is inside, right? So here the plants in which seeds are formed inside the fruit, and the sporophylls, these sporophylls are organized into flowers. Sporophylls are organized into flowers. That's why they are called as flowering plants. Okay, and here we are learning the main characters of angiosperms. Main characters. See, the angiosperms, the size range, or the size ranges from uh, very tiny one. You can see tiny plants, right? And almost like microscopic forms are also there. Microscopic forms. Microscopic forms. Uh, for example, this is very important question. Wolfia. Wolfia, that is the smallest angiosperm. This is the smallest angiosperm. Wolf, smallest angiosperm. And from that range, from very tiny and microscopic forms are there. So one example we are saying Wolfia, which is the smallest angiosperm, and from that to tall trees, you can see tall trees, very big tall trees you can see. So tiny forms are there, microscopic forms are there, and tallest one is also there, right? Like eucalyptus plants, right? Or eucalyptus trees, which are more than 100 meters. So height range, that is, or the length, that is very tiny from the tallest trees. You can see the range, right? And angiosperms, they are divided into two classes. Angiosperms are divided into, they are divided into two classes. Which are the two classes? Which are the two classes of angiosperms? So angiosperms are divided into two classes, and that classification is based on the number of embryonic leaves, or we can say this is based on cotyledons. Okay, based on cotyledons, angiosperms are divided into two classes. First one is dicotyledons, or dicots, and monocotyledons, or monocots. So dicots and monocots, these are the classifications of angiosperms. These dicotyledons, they are characterized by seeds which are having two cotyledons. Dicots will be having two cotyledons, and they have reticulate venation in their leaves, reticulate venation for leaves, and uh, flowers. Their flowers will be tetramerous or pentamerous flowers. Okay, that means each having 4 or 5 members in the each floral whorls. Okay, and at the same time, here in the case of monocotyledons, they have single cotyledon seed. They have only one cotyledon, or their seeds have only one cotyledon, and they have parallel venation, they have, and tetramerous flower, which are having three members in each floral whorls. Okay, so monocots are there, dicots are there. In which one? Angiosperm, that is classified into two based on the cotyledons, number of cotyledons, dicots and monocots. Dicots, they have two cotyledons in their seeds, and they have reticulate venation, and their flowers are tetramerous or pentamerous flowers, right? And here in the case of monocotyledons, here you can see they have a single cotyledon in their seeds, and they are having parallel venation in the leaves, and trimerous flowers. You can see in which one? In monocotyledons, right? And here, angiosperms, they are the most recently and highly evolved ones. Okay, angiosperms. They are most evolved one. Okay, most recently evolved. And highly evolved. They are highly evolved. male sex organ, that is stamen, and female sex organ in that flower, that is carpel or pistil. Clear? So here a microsporophyll or stamen. Stamen is otherwise we can say that microsporophyll. See here you can see this is the stamen. Stamen or andrecium, the male sex organ, andrecium. This is a stamen. See in flower you can see the andrecium, the male sex organ, and the female sex organ, that is the gynecium. Okay, so here you can see this is one stamen. Here we are making it in the enlarged form. Here you can see uh, this is called a stamen. So stamen is having different parts like anther, filament. So inside this you can see pollen grains, right? Inside anther you can see pollen grains. So the male sex organ, that is stamen or microsporophyll, right? And the female part, that is called as carpel or pistil. So a microsporophyll or stamen, this is the structure of stamen. So a microsporophyll or stamen that is having a filament. This is very slender filament. You can see a slender filament. Microsporophyll or stamen. We need to learn about stamen in detail. The structure of stamen you need to learn. See, here you can see the microsporophyll or stamen that is having a slender filament, right? And that will be having at the tip of that filament. See, this is the filament, and at the tip of the filament, you can see the anther, right? And anther at tip, right? This yellow portion, this is the anther. So filament and anther. And within the anther, the pollen mother cell, you can see within the anther, pollen grains are there. The pollen mother cell that divides by meiosis to produce microspores. Okay. So in anther, what is happening? Inside the anther, the pollen mother cell. See, pollen mother cell means this mother cell which is producing that pollen, right? So that pollen mother cell divides. Okay, that will undergo division. And which kind of division? The mother cell will be undergoing division, and that will undergo meiosis. Okay, meiosis, and that produces microspores. Okay, microspores. That microspores are forming the pollen grains. Okay, so here pollen mother cell that is having 2n number of chromosomes, and that is undergoing meiosis, and that produces microspores, and that forms pollen grains which is having haploid number of chromosomes, right? Next is about the female sex organ pistil. This is the female sex organ pistil or carpel, we can say. Female sex organ. Female sex organ which is pistil or carpel. Pistil or carpel. So this pistil consists of, here you can see this is the pistil or gynoecium or carpel. So here pistil consists of ovary. Here you can see this is the ovary. See, parts of pistil, which is that at base you can see ovary. Ovary at base. Then above that what you can see here, one slender part, that is style, slender style, and at the tip here you can see this is stigma. Then stigma. So which are all the parts of pistil? Ovary, style, and stigma. And inside the ovary, this is the ovary part, right? Inside the ovary, ovules we can see. You can see the ovules on both sides. See, these are the ovules, right? Inside ovary, ovules. Ovules are present, right? These ovules, that is having megaspore mother cell. In anther what we have seen, microspore mother cell, and inside ovary ovules are there. Each ovule, each ovule that is having megaspore mother cell. Megaspore mother cell. Okay. Megaspore mother cell, and again this is having 2n number of chromosomes, diploid number of chromosomes. So this megaspore mother cell will undergo meiosis. Okay, this will undergo meiosis. Again, what will happen? Megaspore mother cell is undergoing meiosis, and that produces megaspores. Megaspores. Okay, and this megaspores are haploid. Again, n number of chromosomes, single set of chromosomes you can see. So female sex organ pistil that consists of an ovary at the base. Here you can see at the base there will be an ovary, and above that you can see a slender style, and here at the tip you can see stigma. And inside ovary, when we are coming back to this ovary portion, you can see inside the ovary, ovules are present, and each ovule, when we are enlarging this ovule, there we can see each ovule has a megaspore mother cell which undergoes meiosis. This megaspore mother cell will undergo meiosis, and that forms haploid megaspores. Clear? That forms haploid megaspores. Then next comes, see, this is the ovule we said. Inside this, you can see ovule. This is the clear picture of ovule. That's why we said it will undergo meiosis. Here inside the megaspore mother cell. See, this is a megasporangium and immature ovule. This is immature ovule you can see. So inside the megasporangium, their megaspore mother cell will undergo meiosis. Can you see this? Megaspore mother cell will undergo meiosis, and what is forming here? Four megaspores. Meiosis means meiosis is happening, right? And it will undergo meiosis. That means reduction division. So four megaspores are getting formed here. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Four megaspores are getting formed, and three of them degenerate. Okay, these three megaspores that will degenerate. Three of them degenerate. And what will happen? One one will remain and that divide to form female gametophyte. One, that remaining one divides to form female gametophyte, or we can say embryo sac. Embryo sac, female gametophyte or embryo sac. Among these four, all these three degenerate and one will remain. And that again, that will undergo division and that forms the embryo sac. Here you can see that forms the embryo sac. Okay. And we said here male and female, like stamen and carpel, both are there, right? So this pollen grains which is released from the anther, from this pollen grains are getting released, right? So that pollen grains or this microspores that is reaching on stigma, right? There is a male and female sex organs are separate, right? So these from male gamete is getting released and that should reach the female gamete, right, for fertilization. So the pollen grains, in the case of plants, pollen grains or microspores reach stigma through pollination. Okay, so what is that? Pollen grains, pollen grains, or we can call this pollen grains, that is otherwise known as microspores, right? That reaches stigma, that reaches stigma through which process? Through pollination. That is called as pollination. And for this pollination, in each type of plant, many agents are there. Air pollination is there, water pollination is there, some insect animals or some kind of birds are helping for pollination. So different types of pollinations are there. Okay, so here pollen grains or microspores, they are reaching on stigma through pollination. And here archegonia, that is absent. Okay, in the case of angiosperms, archegonia. Up to pteridophytes, we have learned about anthracium and antheridia and archegonia, right? So archegonia, that is absent, and instead of that, there is one oosphere which is surrounded by two specialized synergid cells or egg apparatus. Okay, here you can see these are the synergid 1, 2, and middle you can see that is the egg cell or that specialized cell, that is egg apparatus. Okay, and there is double fertilization. Okay, double fertilization is taking place in angiosperms. That is a special feature of angiosperm, double fertilization. Double fertilization, this and all we'll learn in detail. Double fertilization is taking place. Then triple fusion, syngamy and triple fusion, we can say. We'll learn this in detail, syngamy and triple fusion. In another chapter, you need to learn all these things. So there is double fertilization. That means syngamy and triple fusion. Both are taking place. That's why double fertilization we are calling. Okay. And here endosperm is getting formed through triple fusion. Endosperm. Endosperm, that is formed through which one? Triple fusion. So endosperm is forming by triple fusion, and generally this endosperm is triploid. Triploid endosperm. Okay. And embryo formation, that is through syngamy. Embryo formation, that is through syngamy. So this is the embryo formation process and all. So here, see, finally you can see embryo, inside seed embryo. So this here endosperm you can see inside the embryo sac, endosperm is there. This endosperm, we are saying that is triploid in nature. That is triploid. You can see here three nucleus. Here you can see and zygote. Here endosperm is formed by triple fusion, and embryo is formed by syngamy. Okay. And this fertilized ovule, this fertilized ovule that will ripen into seeds. See, fertilized ovule will ripen into seeds. And here seeds that is covered by fruits. Seeds covered by fruits. Right. We said that's why they are called as covered seeds in angiosperms. So fertilized ovule will ripen into seeds and the seeds are covered by fruits. So technically we can say a fruit is a ripened ovary. Right. In technically by seeing all these processes we can tell that a fruit. What do you mean by a fruit? Technically by using all these technological terms we can say that is a ripened ovary. Ripened ovary. So a fruit is a ripened ovary, and fruits. What is the function of this fruits? They are protecting the seed, right? And they're helping for the dispersal of seed, protecting seed, and for seed dispersal also, that is helping, right? And here you can see the diagrammatic representation of a mature embryo sac. This is a mature embryo sac picture. Here this picture is very important. You have to learn this picture very clearly. Even for board exam and for neet exam, you will get several questions from this part. So here you can see the antipodal cells. Then here this is the central cell, and here you can see the egg. Here cells I showed you in the previous one. So that one, these are the synagogues, and the middle one is the egg one. See here you can see the egg, and these are the synagogues. And here you can see one apparatus which is called as filiform apparatus, which is having particular function. And these are the polar nuclei. And here you can see the antipodal cells. So this diagram is very, very, very important for you. And next we can see the life cycle of angiosperm. See here, you can see a flower, right? So here in flower, there is a male portion and female portion, right? So the anther, which is having the pollen grains. From that microspore, inside you can see microspore mother cell, and this is a microsporangium inside the anther, and that microspore mother cell will give rise to microspores. Here microspores are having n number of chromosomes or single set of chromosomes, right? And that will form the microspore or the pollen grain. We have this pollen grain, structure of this pollen grain and all. We need to learn everything in detail. Male and female portion we need to learn with structural, including the structure, function, everything we need to learn. That will come in another chapter. And here the microspore mother cell that will form microspore, which is having single set or haploid number of chromosomes. And this is the gametophytic generation. Okay. So here the microspore mothers are all the pollen grain. That pollen grain, germination of this pollen grain, when it is reaching on stigma, it will germinate, and that will carry the gametes. Male gametophyte will carry the male gametes. Okay. And in the case of female, the style or the carpel portion, here you can see the carpel portion which is having ovary, style and stigma. So this stigma, and inside the ovary you can see the megasporangium or ovule, and that here you can see the structure, right? That megaspore mother cell, how it is giving rise to the uh, egg and synagogues. The middle one, the egg cell, and the supporting on the in the sides you can see the synagogues. So here the male gamete, the pollen grain, when it is reaching on the stigma, see how it will reach on stigma, the pollen grain will reach, and it will start germination. See, like this is the pollen grain or male gametophyte. It is reaching on stigma, and it is starting the germination of that pollen grain, so that it will reach inside the ovule. And when it is reaching this, it is carrying the gametes, and it is reaching the eggs, it is reaching near the egg, then their fertilization is taking place, right? And after fertilization, see now this both gametes formed, and that is fusing here, right? When the pollen grain is reaching on the stigmatic surface, it will germinate and it will come inside the ovule. There will be a gap to enter, and inside the ovule it will release the male gamete. These male gametes will get released, and it will fuse with the female gamete or the egg, right? So here fusion is taking place and zygote is forming, right? That is the gametophytic generation, or which is having n number of chromosomes. Next, after fusion, zygote is getting formed, which is having diploid number of chromosome, or it is in a 2n condition. Then the zygote will undergo division, and what will happen? It will form the embryo, right? This is the embryonic development, and that will grow into, again, division is a continuous process. The cells will divide and it will form the sporophyte or spore bearing body. On this, the male spore or the male gamete and the female gamete both are forming on that plant only, right? The antheridium or the anther, sorry, the anther and the carpel both are getting, the stamen and the carpel both are getting formed on the plant itself, right? So here this pollen grain, after dispersal from the anthers, that will be carried by wind, or various processes are there, various pollinating agents are there, that will reach to the stigmatic surface or the on the stigma of the pistil. This is a pistil. So on that pollen grain, when it is getting released from the flower, it will come, or it will reach on the stigma of the pistil, and this process, it is reaching on stigmatic surface, that is called as pollination. And the pollen grains will germinate on the stigma. Here it will stick and it will start germination, and that resulting in the pollen tube to grow through the tissues of the stigma. See, here it is landing, and from there the pollen tube is getting formed, and that will grow, and that pollen tube will carry what, the male gamete, and that will reach to the ovule. So the pollen tube, when it is entering to the embryo sac, there will be two male gametes. You can see here two male gametes when it is entering to the um, ovule, right? So there the two male gametes are getting discharged, and one male gamete, two male gametes are getting discharged. Okay, one male gamete fuses with the egg cell. One male gamete fuses with egg cell. That is called as syngamy. This is the syngamy, and that forms the zygote. Okay, that forms zygote. Then we said two male gametes are there. What about the other male gamete? The other male gamete fuses with the other male gamete fuses with secondary nucleus. Okay, and that produces primary endosperm nucleus. Primary endosperm nucleus, which is having triploid condition. That is in triploid condition. Okay, these both will fuse, and again the second male gamete also will fuse with this, and that forms the primary endosperm nucleus. That's why we are saying the primary endosperm or the endosperm is triploid. And because of the occurrence of two fusions, that means which are the two fusions? The syngamy and the triple fusion, right? Syngamy and the triple fusion. Because of that, this is called as, or this particular event is called as double fertilization. Two times fertilization is taking place, right? Double fertilization. Okay. And this double fertilization, this is unique feature of angiosperms. Okay. And this primary endosperm nucleus, that primary endosperm nucleus or pen, that develops into endosperm. Primary endosperm nucleus will develop into endosperm, and that endosperm is providing nourishment to that developing embryo. This embryo will develop, right? So the primary endosperm nucleus, that is giving nourishment to the developing embryo. And here the synagogues, we said the synagogues, two synagogues are there, and the antipodal, these antipodal cells, all these will degenerate after fertilization. And during all these events, the ovule is getting developed into seed, and that ovule is developing into seed. Okay, ovule to seed, and ovary, that ovary into fruit. Ovule developing into seed and ovary developing into fruit. So the life cycle of an angiosperm, that is what I showed here, this picture. This is also very important. And you should know that in gametophytic generation, their haploid number of chromosomes it is having. And in the sporophytic generation, the chromosome number, or it is in a diploid condition, 2n number of chromosomes. Clear? So from this, which one, if they're asking a single one, what about anther, filament, everything, you should be able to answer what is the chromosome condition of each one, whether it is in a haploid stage or in a diploid stage. Okay. And what is double fertilization, what is triple fusion, which is this double fertilization is a unique feature of angiosperms, and what is secondary nucleus, what is syngamy, and how the zygote is getting formed, primary endosperm nucleus, everything. And what is the condition? It is in a triploid condition. What is the reason of that? In this each and every stage, you should be able to explain. Okay, you can expect question from any of this portion, and it's very easy. Just keep an idea how anther, how pollen grain is forming, how egg is forming, and connect all these like a story. Okay, so from one stage moving to another stage means that will give you a exact idea how the division is taking place and how it is moving to the next stage, how anther is forming, how pollen grain is forming, how both are getting fused. If getting fused, what will be the chromosome condition, or how the chromosome level will be. So all these things you should connect and learn. Okay. Next here, in plants, both condition, whether it is haploid condition or diploid condition, we need to learn about the economic importance, right? In plants, we have learned about this bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms. So here in the angiosperms also, they have some economic importance, right? So the economic importance, first thing is food. So for food, see, flowering plants, they are the major source of food, right? So they are producing, or they produce cereals like wheat, rice, vegetables, um, then potato. All these are coming under vegetables. So they are producing cereals, vegetables, fruits, right? We are eating apple, mango, all these things. They are also angiosperms. Vegetables like tomato, carrot, potato, all these. They're also angiosperms, right? And cereals like rice, wheat, and all. Then for food purpose, that is one economic importance. Then second point which we need to write, edible oil, right? Sunflower oil, oils like flowering plants, avocado oil, groundnut oil, all these are the main sources of edible oils, and that which are used for cooking purpose, right? So they are obtained from sunflower, coconut, mustard, groundnut, right? Then third point, economic importance, we can see spices, right? So common spices, they are obtained from different parts of this flowering plants, right? Coriander, cloves, black pepper, all these are different parts of that flowering plants, right? Then beverages, right? Coffee, cocoa powder, and the common beverages which are obtained from the flowering plants. Then medicines. See, some of the important medicinal plants like belladonna, ashwagandha, quinine, all these are coming under angiosperms. Then another thing is timber. For that also we are depending upon angiosperms. Like many angiosperms, particularly we can say dicotyledons, they are giving valuable hardwood, right? Hardwood which is used as timber, like teak, oak, sandalwood, all these things we are using, like for timber purpose we are using. So all these are the hardwood part we are using for timber purpose. Then fibers. So fiber that is obtained from different species of flowering plants. Textile fibers, they are obtained from which one? Cotton, right? So like that fiber, for that also we are depending upon angiosperms. Next, see, we said about haplontic life cycle, diplontic life cycle, haplodiplontic, everything we have used, all these terms, right? So just to avoid the confusion, I'm just once again, I'm repeating this. You should not get confused because you'll get options like this group. They are having haplontic, diplontic, haplodiplontic, like that options you'll get. So you should understand what is this, what is haplontic life cycle, what is diplontic life cycle, just in short easy way I'll explain you. So during the life cycle of a sexually reproducing plant, there is an alternation of generation between the gamete producing haploid gametophyte and the spore producing diploid sporophytic life. Okay, so this life cycle patterns of different plant groups. We can say haplontic life cycle, diplontic life cycle, and one more is haplodiplontic. Okay, so let's see first haplontic life cycle. See, in haplontic life cycle, dominant phase is a free living photosynthetic haploid gametophyte. Okay, the main stage, dominant phase, we can say. In haplontic, dominant phase, dominant phase of their life cycle, the complete life cycle, in that the dominant phase, the majority of the portion, that will be free living. Free living and photosynthetic. Photosynthetic and haploid. Haploid gametophyte. Gametophyte. Okay. See the gametophytic phase. That means it is bearing the gamete generating body, right? It is having the capacity to produce the gametes, right? Or gamete generating cycle, that will be there. So the diploid or the sporophytic generation is represented only by a single cell zygote. Here, diploid condition, majority of the form or stage of life cycle, that will be in haploid stage, and diploid condition, that is only by the zygote formation. Okay, diploid or the sporophytic generation, that is represented by only by the single cell zygote. Here the zygote, here you can see the zygote that will undergo meiosis or zygotic meiosis will take place, and that forms haploid spores. The spores are haploid, right? And these spores are germinating and they are giving rise to gametophyte. Okay, that means here, for example, you can say in which one you can see algae, like volvos, spirogyra, and all we said. Okay, so in such cases, you can see haplontic life cycle. Most of the time of their life cycle, that is gametophyte. The spore will germinate and it will form the gametophyte. And again, here the diploid stage where you can see only with the zygote formation. Next comes the diplontic life cycle. Here the dominant phase, that is photosynthetic independent diploid sporophytic plant, right? What is that? Dominant phase in the diplontic? Dominant phase. That will be the photosynthetic phase. In that it will be photosynthetic, right? And independent and diplontic. In their diploid stage, that will be in diploid and sporophytic. Sporophytic plant. Here you can see the zygote that is developing and it is forming the sporophyte, which is in a diploid condition. Here zygote is diploid, sporophyte is diploid, and then it will produce gametes, right? So meiosis is occurring in the spore mother cell, which is in a diploid condition, and gametophytic phase. Next is the gametophytic phase, which is represented by a single or a few celled haploid gametophyte. Okay, and this gametophytic phase, that is short living and that is dependent on the photosynthetic sporophyte. So all seed bearing plants like gymnosperms and angiosperms, they have diplontic life cycle. Gymnosperms and angiosperms, right? Fucus, brown algae, all these are coming under diplontic life cycle. Then next comes the haplodiplontic. In this, like this is like an intermediate type of life cycle. See, both the sporophyte and gametophyte, they are multicellular and they equally dominant. and free living. Here both the stages are equally dominant. You can see almost the same percentage it is covering, right? Both the haploid stage and diploid stage, right? And they are free living. So here bryophytes and pteridophytes, they are exhibiting or they are showing this pattern. See, in bryophytes, dominant phase, that is in bryophytes, right, dominant phase is gametophyte, and that is alternating with the short living sporophyte. In pteridophyte, dominant phase is sporophyte, and that is alternating with the short-lived haploid gametophyte. And some of the algae like ectocarpus, polysiphonia, kelps, all these are showing haplodiplontic. Okay, while explaining about algae, we mentioned haploid phase or diploid phase or haplodiplontic, whatever maybe we have explained during that time. Okay, so these are the three types of life cycle. During the life cycle of the sexually reproducing plants, there are alternation of generation between gamete producing haploid gametophyte and spore producing diploid sporophytic life. Okay, and this is in different pattern. So haplontic life cycle is there, diplontic life cycle is there, haplodiplontic. All this we have explained. So here the plant kingdom we have learned completely, and next class onwards we'll move the previous year questions. We'll solve some of the previous year questions to get an idea about how the question patterns are. Clear? Thank you.